Coming up on Market Shares, Federal Reserve cuts interest rates for the first time in 9 months. What fueled their decision?
And suspension of comedian Jimmy Kimmel is putting a spotlight on the Federal Communication Commission, how they're responding.
And all three major indexes closed in the green today as the world's two largest trade partners enter negotiations. Hold on to your wallets because Market Shares starts right now. Good afternoon and welcome to Market Shares. I'm Ben Bascuk.
And I'm Underwood. Markets closed just a few minutes ago and they're all up. Good news for investors in the stock market. The green is what you like to see. Big highs all week. That comes after those federal interest loan rates. That was a big driving factor.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sight for sore eyes to finally see all three major indexes in the green. I think our first week here since coming back to Market Shares. Like we said in the opening here, the two largest economies in the world, China and the U.S., have entered these negotiations. That's making investors kind of perspective, seeing this light at the end of the tunnel and propping up all three major indexes. After these Liberation Day tariffs, we haven't really seen those two superpowers come head to head and finally enter negotiations formally. And so now that we have seen that, they're looking forward and hoping some of these tariffs cut off a little bit.
And also a bunch of big tech investments, tech collaborations, billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of deals. That's propping up a lot of these stocks as well. S&P 500, this is the third straight week it's setting record highs. I mean, right now, investors are loving what they're seeing and they're putting a lot of cash into it.
Yeah, Riley, and word of the week is interest rates, right? So Powell finally caving to those White House pressures, cutting those interest rates. Ideally, that's going to make, for the Trump administration, borrowing a little more expensive. So we're going to see that consumer price index going up. People are spending more money. They justified this citing labor. That's their primary concern with the slow kind of growth in the unemployment rate in the first couple quarters here. And so they cut those rates and people are perspective about it. Shareholders are hoping that there's going to be more money in the economy, more hiring going on, and hopefully bringing more jobs back domestically with these international negotiations going forward.
Small cap stocks also doing very well. So let's take a look at our first market mover, and that's going to be Intel. Intel notched a $5 billion deal with NVIDIA, a major partnership, NVIDIA putting $5 billion into collaborating on custom AI and PC chips. Now Intel, their main focus going into their business and kind of before this year and last year, before they've kind of been changing the sector, they were known for putting these chips into their own personal computers when you bought Intel computers, but now they've kind of shifted their focus on making chips and processors for other companies. In this case, NVIDIA, Intel shares surged as much as 28% after the news broke. Also, the government, the U.S. government backing Intel, they bought 10% of the shares.
Trump's brought a lot of chip makers into the White House to have these discussions over the past couple months. There was a little unease in the chip industry at first when this whole Chips and Science Act came under fire from the Trump administration before he took office, but we haven't seen any substantial cuts to funding yet, and Trump is actually making those negotiations with investors across seas to keep American chip technology in America, but still keep those driving industries around the U.S. And I think the theory that's interesting here is the Trump administration is saying, well, we want more American chips overseas because then they become reliant on American technology, bringing industry back domestically to the United States. But let's talk about a different kind of chip that was in the news this week, chocolate chips. Ben & Jerry, lots of news there. One of the biggest social corporate responsibility companies to ever exist. Now it's just Ben. Jerry has left. Jerry Greenfield has left Unilever, who is the parent company of Ben & Jerry's, along with lots of other food brands. He cited a lot of these social concerns. So when Jerry left this merger here, there was lots of talks about things overseas, international relations, the situation with Israel and Palestine. And Jerry Greenfield was no longer comfortable with the deal that he signed with Unilever. Under that deal, he was under the understanding that he was a brand ambassador paid and outsourced through the company and was able to still kind of promote those more progressive agenda items, fighting racism, which is quoted on their website. But he's been an outspoken critic about the war between Palestine and Israel. And that kind of all came to fruition here this week when he left the company. Unilever taking a hit this week, about 2%. But it really shows kind of this broader trend of companies moving away from corporate social responsibility efforts and that more progressivism. I mean, we saw Target do it in this past quarter during Pride Month when they cut all their funding there to those programs. So it's going to be interesting to see what influence the government has on those companies going forward.
And it's really interesting, I mean, to step away from your company, your ice cream company at that, because you don't want Israel tied to it. It's really interesting, and we'll see what happens moving forward with just Ben. I don't know if this is going to make some new flavors now that Jerry's not in the mix that he didn't like.
We'll see. I'm a fan of fish food. That's my favorite. So we'll have to see if they keep that one around. You got to try it. Maybe next week on the show.
What was it?
Fish food. You haven't had it? It's like fudge chunks and caramel and
I don't know.
All right. Well, let's move on to our final mover this week, which is StubHub. This big ticketing company that came under a lot of fire during the whole Eras tour when that was all in the news and around. But they just had an IPO, so they have gone public this week. And they've been snubbed over the past couple months before. So they are down, which isn't normal for a company which is going public. You would think that they have an increase in those shareholder investments. And they had that evaluation about $8 billion as of this initial public offering.
Yeah, StubHub opening up on Wednesday. They started just above $25. Now they're down to just above $19. So not looking too good for those first 3 full days on the stock market. But still, this is no reason to worry for StubHub because their whole point of going public was to get some more cash flow, and they got instant cash, $800 million raised for the company, now trading under the ticker symbol STUB. They're in a competitive ticketing market with rivals like Ticketmaster, SeatGeek, but their growth has been increasing, but not at the rate we've seen it as in years prior.
Yeah, Riley, all these other companies you mentioned, like Vivid, like Ticketmaster, which is Live Nation's sub-parent company, they've all gone public, and so we just kind of been on this holdout for StubHub. I mean, they had that eBay purchase back a couple months ago, and they've had a slow resurgence post-COVID to get kind of back into this live entertainment space. So hopefully, I think they're seeing those shareholders increase over the next couple months here as they go into this initial public offering.
Gotta get rid of those junk fees. I don't like those. I want to know what I'm paying.
That's how they get you.
I know.
Those backup fees. Well, in a wildly anticipated meeting, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates by 0.25%, like we said. That signaled 2 more cuts are on their way. The decision puts the overnight funds range between 4 and 4.25%. Now, this is the first time the Fed has cut rates in 2025. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell explained that the cut is due to slowing demand for jobs and a rise in unemployment. He added that inflation is up and has remained elevated.
Newly confirmed Federal Reserve Governor Stephen Moran was the only one to call for a half-point cut. You can see in the dot plot showing an unusually wide disagreement among Federal Open Market Committee members on the number of rate cuts, with some members seeing as many as 4 rate cuts ahead. Now, Trump has been very outspoken against the Fed, and his appointment of Moran has raised questions over the Fed's independence. Moran has openly criticized Powell and is seen by many as a loyalist vote for the president. During a news conference, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said that the decision reflects a desire to keep risks to the economy in check.
Yeah, I think you could think of this in a way as a risk management cut, because if you look at the SEP, actually the projections for growth this year and next actually ticked up just a little bit, and inflation and unemployment didn't really move much. So what's different now? What's different now is that you see a very different picture of the risks to the labor market.
Speaking of risks to the labor market, the Security and Exchange Commission is proposing a rule change on Trump's call switch from quarterly earnings reporting to a semi-annual schedule. Paul Atkins, the CEO of the SEC, said that if the rule change is approved, it will be left to companies to decide whether they switch to semi-annual or stay with quarterly.
Trump stated that this change would, quote, save money and allow managers to focus on properly running their company. This rule can be changed by a majority vote of the SEC, where Republicans currently hold a 3-1 majority. This issue has come under debate as opponents argue that the lack of transparency will hurt investors. Supporters say that a 6-month schedule will free up companies to focus on their businesses on a longer-term basis.
Well, as businesses plan for the longer term here in Onondaga County, this week, County Executive Ryan McMahon presented his budget proposal to county lawmakers. Market shares analyst Carolina Aguayo is here with what is included in this proposal. Carolina, how should Onondaga County homeowners be feeling right now?
Yeah, guys, I have some pretty good news for Onondaga County homeowners. Your property taxes might actually go down next year. Yeah, you heard that right. Here's what's happening. So County Executive Ryan McMahon just dropped his $1.6 billion budget proposal this Monday, and it's actually looking pretty taxpayer friendly. This deal is this. Property values have been climbing, which means more tax revenue is coming in. But instead of just spending all that extra cash, the county is saying, hey, let's give some of that money back to the people. Smart move, right? Happy people, thriving county. Now, here's the interesting part. So, while property taxes are shrinking as a piece of the pie, sales taxes are really carrying the load here. Even with some economic softening from tariffs, they're betting big on 2026. Why? Two words, Micron and construction. They're expecting that massive project to pump up sales tax revenue by about 1.5%. So where is all this money going? We are talking $6 million for a new sheriff's helicopter, $700,000 for drones to help with 911 responses. Plus they're creating a whole convention and innovation district around the UN Center. Oh, and another $1.2 million going towards lead cleanup and early childhood education. The bottom line, the budget is up by 3% from last year, but your property tax bill could still go down. County legislators start reviewing this whole thing now, and we'll get a final vote on October 14th. We will keep you posted as this develops because, let's be honest, any news about lower taxes is a news worth following.
Thank you so much, Carolina. We'll be watching how interest rates play a role in the mortgage market as well. Well, coming up on Market Shares, President Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping made, quote, significant progress towards a deal. What they spoke about in their meeting after this break.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Dad?
Just 1 minute, okay?
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Welcome back to Market Shares. Well, earlier today, President Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping held a highly anticipated phone call aimed at finalizing that TikTok deal. Market Shares analyst Amelia Carr is in studio with more. Amelia, what was discussed during this very, very highly anticipated phone call?
So during this phone call, the two countries agreed to work on the framework of the deal, which was made last Monday. With this agreement, American businesses like Oracle and Silver Lake would own 80% of TikTok, which basically means they're going to be meeting in a month to be talking about this in person. So this battle over TikTok in the United States has stretched on for more than a year and has persisted over 2 presidential administrations. It all started on April 24th in 2024 when President Joe Biden signed a law requiring TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, to sell its U.S. operations by January 19th, 2025, or face a nationwide ban. Just before that deadline, on January 18th and 19th, TikTok briefly went dark for American users. However, service was quickly restored. The very next day, on January 20th, newly sworn-in President Donald Trump signed an executive order that pushed the ban back by 75 days. More extensions followed through the spring, leading to a new deadline of June 19th, 2025. Then on September 16th, the Trump administration announced a framework deal with China. That agreement would allow TikTok to keep operating in the US under American-controlled ownership. At the same time, the deadline was extended once again, this time to December 16th, 2025, which leads to the phone call that we discussed that happened today, in which they were talking over the terms on the phone, which was the first time that the leaders had spoken in this manner in 3 months. They pledged to meet face-to-face in a month in South Korea to seemingly finalize the deal. It is unclear whether the US government or tech companies will have control over the app, and as of now, dealmakers have been vague about the exact terms, but since shut down any discussion of it with the press.
I'm not going to talk about the commercial terms of the deal. It's between two private parties, but the commercial terms have been agreed upon.
While a deal has yet to be made, it seems like we are soon to see a US-owned TikTok.
Amelia, I want to ask, why does the United States want to block China from owning TikTok? Because that's been a discussion that's been going on for months and months since Trump stalled this deal 4 times now.
So it all really comes down to data. Lawmakers are worried that TikTok collects a massive amount of data on Americans, and that's China's government could force the app's parent company, ByteDance, to hand over that data. TikTok could also potentially use for surveillance, even tracking the locations of government or military personnel. Another concern is the app's algorithm. The US fears that China could manipulate what users see or potentially push propaganda and spread other content. In short, America doesn't want a foreign adversary controlling one of the country's most popular social media platforms. It's all about where we're at.
So why is China willing to sell or give up control of TikTok?
This is because losing their American audience would be a massive financial blow for ByteDance, the app's parent company. The United States has the most users on TikTok at around 136 million online. This is about 1/10 of total audience, so it would be a huge blow losing that. As of now, US laws and threats of a ban have put pressure on China to negotiate by divesting or restructuring. They keep the app operating while showing willingness to cooperate with American regulators. Experts also say it helps that ByteDance protects TikTok's global reputation and ensures future growth in other countries. For now, the deal would keep TikTok online in the US, but negotiations and regulatory pressure are far from over. Back to you guys.
Thanks so much, Amelia. We'll have to see how long we can keep scrolling on TikTok and if another stall comes into place here. But it's lights, camera, and action on a new deal announced between Sony and our very own Newhouse School here at Syracuse University. This renewed partnership was announced on Wednesday at, quote, Sony Signature Innovation Day, where students got industry training on new Sony equipment. This new equipment will be available at Newhouse for students in broadcast journalism or VisComs and includes the latest line of Sony cameras. In the release, Dean Mark Lodato described the deal as, quote, more than an enhancement in technology, it's a strategic investment in our students' futures. Sony President of Imaging Products and Solutions in America, Teresa Alesso, shared in a sentiment during a Q&A where she said, quote, the ability to be able to shape the next generation of photographers and journalists is super important for Sony. With this partnership, Newhouse students can expect to cover the next big story using some of Sony's most advanced equipment. The Syracuse-based film studio American High is expanding its productions beyond Central New York, announcing this week that they will be producing 4 films at a studio in Georgia. Joining us in studio to tell us more about it is market shares analyst Drew Matiasik. Drew?
Thanks, guys. That's right. American High announced that they are not necessarily relocating from their main filming location in Syracuse, but rather expanding to Trillet Studios, which is known for producing blockbuster films such as Avengers Endgame and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, along with Captain America: Brave New World. American High founder and CEO Jeremy Gorelick started American High Productions in 2017, purchasing the former Zog Middle School in Liverpool for $1 million. Since then, they have produced 20 movies in Central New York, including Summer of '69, Big Time Adolescence, and most recently finished principal shooting of the untitled Britannic Pizza movie, which features Stranger Things star Gaten Matarazzo. Now, while Gorelick says that this is just an expansion, it has worried some as the film industry is flocking to Georgia because of their film tax credits, an issue which has also plagued Hollywood. But not only this, Gorelick has been in a feud with the mayor of Liverpool, Stacey Finney, threatening to run against her after she publicly criticized American High Productions for village code violations. In June, Mayor Finney said in a letter to Syracuse.com, quote, "For anyone that would like to offer commercial space for Gorelick to transfer his operation to, we welcome it. For me, photo shoots with celebrities at the Dinosaur Barbecue are just not worth the price we are paying."
Yeah, Drew, it's really interesting to see kind of all this talk about how much money the film industry is bringing to Central New York, and then at the same time you see state and city level officials speaking out against that very industry.
Yeah, Mayor Finney is really upset because the code violations that American High, that she's been accusing them of, is very, very simple stuff. Overgrown lawns, generators being used at different times of the night, putting up fumes when they're not supposed to. And Gorelick responded to Mayor Finney on Facebook basically saying, "Hey, we're sorry. You know, we saw it with Jason Smora with the whole fireworks debacle over the summer. The auditor wanted him to pay more for his fireworks shows. He said, we want to cooperate because we love Syracuse. Syracuse is our home." That's what Gorelick said on Facebook. Finney said, "Get out of here. We don't want you. You're obnoxious." So he said, "I'm going to run against you for mayor."
So, with all of this happening and a lot of them expanding to Georgia, is this going to be the end of American High in Syracuse, or are we going to see more of them?
No, it's definitely not the end. He's only going to be filming about 4 movies a year out in Georgia. He said he just wants to be able to film more and not necessarily be constrained to the small production that is in Syracuse, New York. It's a middle school. It's an old middle school. It doesn't have that much space. But it is kind of troubling to see this new trend in the film industry. This billionaire running for governor of California, Stephen Klubeck, he's not doing really well in the polls, but he's brought attention to a big, huge issue that New York and California has been seeing. The film industry is flocking south because Georgia is giving about $1.5 billion in their budget to tax credits for the film industry. New York has about $700 million. California is at the bottom with $300 million. They're trying to raise it. He wants to get it to $2 billion, but it's a very telling sign that the film industry is flocking south and leaving New York and California, and American High might be next in that direction with this story.
Thanks so much, Drew. I think you need to keep your contacts with these American High. You could be an American High movie star.
I could.
Star power to be with.
Coming up on Market Shares, Hyundai Motors announcing some aggressive growth plans. What are its goals? When we return.
Come on, it's not that hard.
My big man fingers are having a problem with these little tiny buttons.
Whoa, watch it there. Your blood pressure's gonna go through the roof.
Tell me about it. I'm trying to learn how to get it down. Instead, it keeps going up.
High blood pressure can increase the risk for heart attack or stroke. Learn how to keep yours at a healthy range.
Ever hear a voice command? Just say text barbershop to 97779.
That's not what I said.
Just give me that. Now my blood pressure's up.
Rolling.
Sound is speeding.
Can you slow down? This is 28.1.
28.1.
President Trump's pressure on the media continues to increase. Walt Disney, ABC's parent company, canceled Jimmy Kimmel Live indefinitely after controversial comments linking the alleged killer of Charlie Kirk to President Donald Trump's MAGA movement. Federal Commission's Chair Brendan Carr, who was nominated by President Trump, says that Kimmel misled the public. He also told CNBC that, quote, "We're not done yet with the changes to the media ecosystem." Last night, Stephen Colbert called ABC's decision blatant censorship and stated, "With an autocrat, you cannot give an inch." Just before ABC's announcement, Nexstar said that its ABC affiliates would preempt Kimmel's show for the foreseeable future. Now keep in mind, Nexstar is seeking FCC approval for its $6 billion merger with Tegna.
And Hyundai Motors is outlining ambitious growth plans just weeks after an ICE immigration raid at one of their battery plants. The new targets call for a profit margin between 6 and 7% and an increase in revenue between 5 and 6%. Along with these financial targets, they also plan to increase sales by over 30% by 2030. CEO Jose Munoz says he plans to invest over $25 billion to expand into the U.S. and aims to have 80% of its U.S. vehicle sales produced locally, a major increase from the current 40%. He also expressed, quote, sincere empathy for the South Korean workers impacted by the raids and hopes that the U.S. and South Korea can have a healthy relationship.
Versant, Comcast's spinoff of its NBC cable network, is preparing to go public. The new company will trade on the NASDAQ under the ticker VSNT. In a filing with the SEC, Versant's revenue has been on the decline. Last year, the assets under Versant generated $7 billion, which is down from $7.4 billion in 2023 and $7.8 billion in 2022. Comcast's decision to put CNBC, MSNBC, Golf Channel, and other networks on Versant was to isolate the declining cable business from the more profitable streaming services. So Versant could then focus on evolving its own brand in this new media landscape.
Well, it may not be basketball season quite yet, but the Clippers are in some hot water down in SoCal. Drew Elbow tells us more. Drew?
Thanks so much, Ben. Steve Ballmer, owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, is the richest NBA owner in the world with a net worth of over $150 billion, more than every other NBA owner combined. So what do you do when you have near limitless money but own a franchise that's never won a championship? You bend the rules. The NBA has a salary cap, meaning every team is allotted the same amount to spend on players. But rules are meant to be broken. Or at least that's what Ballmer and Clipper superstar Kawhi Leonard seems to think. Leonard, a two-time Finals MVP, signed a 3-year deal worth nearly $150 million. Soon after, he also signed a $48 million sponsorship deal with Aspiration, a financial company that has since gone bankrupt. But here's the catch. Ballmer had invested $50 million into Aspiration right before Leonard's contract, and as Aspiration sank, Ballmer kept putting more money in. Was he a true believer in the company, or was Aspiration simply a vehicle to pay Leonard outside the salary cap? That's what the NBA is investigating. One detail that doesn't help Ballmer's case, Leonard never promoted Aspiration. No ads, no quotes, not even a tweet. So maybe the company wasted $48 million, or maybe Ballmer used it to slip Leonard an extra payday. Either way, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver made one thing clear: we will get to the bottom of it.
Thanks so much, Drew. Well, coming up on Market Shares, a new way to view the world. What the Meta Ray-Ban glasses include when we return.
I think it's an air raid. A lot of houses in our neighborhood have been destroyed. I like to close my ears and sing songs whenever the bombs come close. I'm worried our new neighbors won't like us. But I know it's all gonna be worth it. I just want my family to be safe. But these are not my words. These are not my words. These are not my words.
Jason, let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner.
Go. Excellent. Soccer is fun. Yeah, I saw you guys out there.
Welcome back to Market Shares. Well, you'll soon be able to ask Jarvis to enhance that image because Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Meta, just revealed the company's next AI device, a pair of smart glasses with a tiny display inside the lens. The Meta Ray-Bans display glasses are part of the company's effort to make its AI technology a part of people's everyday lives.
Yeah, Riley, I know you've really been talking about watching the new Summer I Turned Pretty movie on those glasses in December, so we'll have to look forward to see what lays ahead with that. Well, that's all the time we have here on Market Shares. Have a great night. I'm Ben Bascuk.
And I'm Riley Underwood.